I'm here with Lee Newton, CEO of Media 10, to talk about UK Construction Week. Okay, firstly, Lee, tell us about how UK Construction Week got started and, what the inspiration behind it was.
Okay, the inspiration behind the Construction Week probably spans back to about 30 years ago. My first real job, I think, was working for a publishing company called Morgan Grampian, and on a magazine called What's New in Interiors, which was a sister magazine to a magazine called What's New in Building.
Right.
So the first trade show I ever went to was a show called Interbuild, which at the time was probably the biggest show in the UK.
Okay.
It was at the NEC, and I was definitely taken back by the sheer size of it. I was only a young kid, I was 19.
Right.
The sheer size of it, the amount of people that were there, the fact that it was the whole of Birmingham seemed to come to life around this very big show in a very big industry.
Yeah. Well, go on, sorry.
No, you carry on.
I was going to say, yeah, it's a £110 billion market in the UK, and it accounts for 10% of the jobs in the UK. So it's surprising to start with that it was a relatively untapped sector. So how did the sector look before?
Well, I think what happened many years ago, Interbuild, for some reason, come to an end after many years of great success.
Yeah.
And I think in lots of industries, particularly in the UK, people tend to split them up. And the problem with the construction market in the UK over the past maybe 10 years was that all these smaller shows sprung up, and people fell out of each other, and the associations for each part of the industry tended to launch their own smaller show. And we felt that the UK deserved one large gathering for the construction market. Everything from a plumber right the way up to someone that's building a skyscraper or bridges, infrastructure, etc. And there wasn't really one place to do this. And we already own construction shows. We own Grand Designs Live, which is for the small independent self-builder, but we also own shows that for the architect, and also magazines for the architects as well. And we just felt that there was a big gap in the market, and if we could bring back to life, in some words, Interbuild, but under a brand new name, and run it for a whole week, we thought that people would buy into it, and lucky they did.
And you went for 9 different brands, 9 different shows.
Yes. Under
one roof. What were the sort of challenges thinking of different brands for each of those, and how was the process of conceiving of this?
Well, again, the idea is that the word construction isn't a word that many of the different parts of the industry would use. As I said, you might be a plumber, so there could be a plumber show, or a roofing show, or a carpentry show, or a timber show. And but we felt if we could launch a series of shows that concentrated on each individual market, building independent communities in each market throughout the show, therefore running 9 separate shows but under one roof, under one umbrella, UK Construction Week, we'd have something that would be a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
And also something that we felt that the government and the big players, the big money spenders in the industry would then get behind, and luckily we were right.
Sure. And what were the kind of logistical challenges having those 9 shows be unique within a venue?
Well, Media 10 as a company has always been a team of people that tend to try and do the impossible. It doesn't always work, but in this instance it did. We felt from a standing start we had a tendency in exactly 12 months' time that sat alongside our already famous show Grand Designs Live, which already attracted 40,000 people. And we felt that if we could run a whole week, starting on the Monday with a press call, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the professional show, and then a crossover on Thursday of the professional and then a public show for the consumers, then we're spanning the whole industry. Right. And giving a true week-long experience, a week-long event for the industry.
So how did you go about finding consultants and people to work with on each of these brands?
Well, first of all, we were already partly in the market anyway.
Yeah.
We also worked as a team on being on the ground, understanding what the market's all about, and the fact that we'd had lots of people say to us over the years that it's a shame that the big show's no longer there. And we made plenty of contacts. So although it was a spur-of-the-moment decision to do it in 12 months, the fact is that probably for a couple of years we'd heard the rumours and people saying that these small shows are okay for the small industry, but they all cross over with each other.
Yeah.
And the fact is that I think if you was looking to buy an E-Type Jag, and that was the car you was after and nothing else, would you go to an E-Type Jag show where there might be 40 E-Type Jags, or would you go to a classic car show where there might be 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Well, I think if you were just after one particular car, you'd go to a show that was primarily about that car. So we took that into the construction field, and we thought, well, look, if you're a plumber, you'd go to a plumbing show. If you're a roofer, you'd go to a roofing show, or you might go to them. If you could then go to the show that was specifically about your industry, but knowing damn well that there was another 8 shows alongside it that all crossed over your industry, you're more likely to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And given there's gap in the market for this, do you think there's a lot of other gaps in the markets in the UK or internationally for other kind of types of show?
Yeah, I'm sure there are. You tend to see bigger shows in Europe that span the whole industry, but primarily I think that they're probably backed by the government or backed by the local city. And unfortunately in the UK we don't tend to do that. So people are left to their own devices, and that's why there's smaller shows.
Sure.
And obviously the smaller shows are run as businesses rather than government funded projects, so therefore you've got lots of individual businesses trying to make a buck, trying to make money to satisfy their industry. And again, we're inviting every other show, every other organisation to come along and talk to us about how they can be part of UK Construction Week. We want it to be more than just a show. We treat each show individually. Each show has its own marketing team. Each show has its own reasons for being there, but they all cross over. And one of the things we do is that the fact is that some of these shows around the country will only attract a few thousand people. And we're looking at attracting a few thousand people to each show, gave us in our first year 30,000 people.
Right.
And the idea was basically that more people would come because there's more there to offer. On top of that, we to make it an event rather than just a show, we stage lots of seminars. I think there's like 300 seminars across the week. Okay. We have government speakers and government decision makers. We try and bring along the large construction companies, the CEOs, and it's a place for information. It's a place for meeting other people. We stage power hours where we have free drinks on certain stands or on certain features. We have a beer festival, which is very, very popular. We have a casino night and 3 sets of awards. I think we had 4 sets of awards in one day last year.
Wow.
So not all run by us, but ones that are supported by us.
Sure. So there was a lot of pressure having all these things essentially for the first time and sort of springing that on people and familiarising people with it. And how did that go? What was the reception like?
It was good. It was good. In its first year, in 12 months, and if you're an event organiser, you understand, to have the idea of a show and launch it literally 12 months later is a hard task. Yeah. Never mind launching 9 shows 12 months later. The challenges we found we had was finding a team that was good enough. So unfortunately, we actually churned lots of staff in that 12 months. But we ended up with 750 exhibitors in the first year. Yeah. Plus the 400 exhibitors that were in the back part of the week, who were the self-builders. So in effect, we had over 1,000 exhibitors at this show, and I think most people were taken back by it, the fact that the amount of product that was there, the amount of diversity that was there, and the fact that it was more than just a day trip. It was something that you go to for a few days. Yeah.
And any plans, for next year on expansion and how to improve it and things, how to make it a better show and even impress on a bigger level?
Yeah, every year we're looking at expanding it. So as I said, we're putting a call out to the industry, come and be part of the show. Yeah. We haven't got to own it. We'd like to own parts of the show, more of the show, but we want to make it something for the UK as well. The government are definitely getting behind us now and helping us. They're seeing how important it is. It's not just about building houses, it's also about building infrastructure and railways and doctors and hospitals, and it just goes on and on and on. And the amount of billions that are spent every year, and the amount of news coverage every single day. There's a story in every single newspaper in the UK about the housing crisis, about staffing in the construction industry, and so on and so on. So it hasn't been terribly hard. Yeah. Probably the hardest thing has been is an internal project of trying to run them as individual shows, but bringing them together as one. It's probably the hardest thing.
Sure. Well, sounds like sky's the limit. Well, good luck with the show and all your continued success. Cheers. Thanks, Lee. All the best.